This might be the easiest way to completely change how your laundry room looks in under 1 hour. Start by measuring the width and height of the opening of your washer and dryer. Using a fabric shower curtain, measure your fabric, adding an extra inch for a hem, and cut off the excess. Create a crisp edge by folding over the 1-inch hem and ironing it down. To secure it without sewing, use an iron-on adhesive like Heat and Bond. Just place the adhesive tape in the fold, iron on medium-high heat for 8 seconds, then flip the material over and iron the right side for another 3 seconds. Finally, you'll need a rod to hold your new curtain. Simply slide your fabric onto the rod, secure it in place under your counter, and you're done. If you have a side-by-side washer and dryer, you have to try this. The project not only hides your laundry machines, but also transforms the area into a sophisticated space that can double as a coffee bar.
Do you have an old beat-up washer and dryer that still works great but could use an upgrade? Then this is your sign to head to the Dollar Tree and pick up some contact paper. First, I used a clean cloth and some rubbing alcohol to clean the top of my dryer, the lid to my washer, and the door to my dryer. Starting with the top of my dryer, I laid the contact paper over top, pattern side facing up, and made sure it was centered and even over the top of the dryer before cutting a piece off the roll. Then I used a pencil to trace around the indented portion of the dryer top, taking my time to make sure I was tracing exactly where I wanted the paper to sit. I used a pair of sharp scissors to cut the shape out, then placed the cutout contact paper back on top of the dryer and dry fitted it to make sure that the piece would fit nicely in the indented portion. I made adjustments as needed to make it fit well and erased any pencil marks, then moved on to application. Next, I peeled the backing off the paper and slowly began applying the contact paper to the dryer. It was helpful to take it one section at a time, smoothing each part down fully before pulling off more of the backing. To get better adhesion and less bubbles, I pulled the bottom of the contact paper taut while applying it. Moving over to the washer lid, the process was similar. Once the lid was covered, I wrapped the paper around the edges and trimmed away any excess. I also used a scraper to make sure there was good adhesion on the back side as well. Moving lastly to the door of the dryer, this was the trickiest area to cover because it's vertical. I taped the contact paper to the dryer, then used a pencil to trace around the handle and cut it out with an X-Acto knife. Then I began applying the contact paper, starting in the left-hand corner, the same way I applied it to the other areas. Once the paper was completely adhered to the door, I cut a separate piece to cover the remaining portion at the bottom of the door. I wrapped the contact paper around the edges of the door, trimming away any excess as needed, then moved on to the hinges. I also went back and addressed any air bubbles by using a pin to pop them and smooth them down. I love how much better my washer and dryer look and how easy and inexpensive this makeover was. I hope this inspired you to upgrade your own washer and dryer with contact paper too.
Today I'm sharing a very easy project that looks amazing when done. The first step is to attach the stencil to the wall with painter's tape. Take a good amount of spackle on the putty knife and drag it across the stencil. Make sure to fill in any spots you may have missed. Carry on to your other stencils. Remove the stencils, and if you have gotten spackle outside of the stencil, wipe it off the wall. Follow the instructions on your spackle for drying time. Ours was 24 hours. When it is dry, paint over the entire wall from the top to the bottom with your original paint color. Let dry. Now enjoy. I did the best I could to show you how great it looks, but for some reason the camera does not pick it up as well as the human eye. I can guarantee you though that it looks lovely and it is very visible. It isn't too busy, but it took what was once an unremarkable wall and turned it into something special.
Today we're going to turn this old thrifted window into a laundry room sign. So we're going to start by just cleaning this up, getting the dirt off the window, sanding down the outside, and applying a fresh coat of paint. We're going to use some white chalk paint to clean up this frame. Now this is a pretty old window and the glass in here isn't that stable. So we're gonna flip it over and just apply a line of silicone all the way around so that we can ensure that this glass really sticks in. Then we'll just smooth out the silicone along here. And we're gonna let that dry and make sure the paint is finished drying, and then we can move on to decorating this for a laundry room. Using a simple program like Word, I created a laundry sign that I really liked and just stretched it out and printed on 2 pieces of white copy paper. First thing we need to do is line up the middle. So I'm just gonna trim along the edge. So that it lines up right here. Now we're gonna flip it over, and this is again the back side of the window, and center it on the window. All right, then we flip it over. And we've got a variety of paint pens here. These are black oil-based paint pens in a really thick tip, medium, and fine. And then I've just got a scrap piece of paper here. To get the paint flowing in a new pen, you're just gonna bounce it up and down until it starts coming out. And you'll see the tip turn the color of your paint. So the tip will start to turn black, and then we can use it. So then we're just gonna trace over the letters here. The smaller tip pens work great for these smaller letters down here. Once you've gone over everything with your paint pen, it's a good practice to come back and pull this off and check and see how everything looks. Now I think that looks fantastic. I do see a little gap right here. So I'm just gonna come back with my pen then and fill in any of those gaps that I may have missed to make these look like really solid letters. So to hang this up, I'm just adding a big piece of rope to the back. So I am gonna tie a thick knot on one end there, and then just use a staple gun to attach it to the back. So this simple laundry sign was made from an old window and a black paint pen. I hope this technique has inspired you to go create something for your own home. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.